This is my final devlog for my pet simulator card game called Decarium, which I made in the Godot game engine. In the time since my last devlog, I released a demo version of the game and participated in Steam Next Fest, the week-long demo showcasing event hosted on Steam. So I figured, hey, why not do a little breakdown of how that went for me. So before Next Fest, I was getting on average a wish list or 2 per day. During Next Fest, I averaged 24 per day, bit of an increase there. Now besides wish lists, with Next Fest came a lot of good feedback. For starters, cleaning the tank sucked. Beyond the single pop-up that tells you how to do it, click and drag on the screen, it's pretty unclear. To fix that, here's a sponge. Makes a lot more sense to pick up and drag the sponge across the screen and makes the interaction mildly more interesting. I've also made it so that all click and drag interactions can now either be done by holding down the left mouse button or clicking once to pick up and clicking again to drop. Doing this was straightforward enough. I track the amount of time between the initial mouse click and mouse release, and if it's under 0.1 seconds, that means you must click again to release, and if it's over 0.1 seconds, that means you're opting to hold the button down and drop on release. Tank cleanliness was also a mechanic that people found unclear. Basically, it just does some behind-the-scenes changes to calculations. Your pets get hungrier faster if the tank is dirty, but you can't see these numbers, so it often felt like it did nothing. To make this mechanic more clear, instead of directly changing hunger rates, creatures now have a chance to get sick if the tank is dirty, with the likelihood getting higher the dirtier it is. Sick pets then get hungry much faster, and to cure them you have to click and drag a medicine pill over to them. They also get a little cold pack on their head and a thermometer in their mouth, and if that doesn't make it clear enough that they're sick, they also get a speech bubble with a sick face in it. So with all that, I was thinking that tank cleanliness was getting pretty fleshed out. As one final addition, I also made a new enemy type that, instead of eating your pets, makes them sick and dirties the tank wherever it goes. At this point, the game had maybe 2 hours of content. If you just did the main levels as fast as possible, opting out of the post-game endless mode or the personal tank, which is the idle mode where you just collect named pets. This means that the game is a bit on the short side considering the Steam refund period is 2 hours of playtime. To get this number up, and also just because I still had some more ideas kicking around, I added some new cards and creatures. We now got, among other things, Slow Falling to make it easier to collect coins, a card to inflict sickness on all pets for money, a card to cure all pets, some new creatures like crabs and moths, and seeing as I was running out of ideas for normal animals, I went ahead and added some prehistoric creatures in. We got raptors and pterodactyls and anomalocaris and trilobites and others. I also drew up a spreadsheet at this point comparing the costs to feed each creature against how much its coins are worth, and used this to ensure each creature had some level of balance. I don't want an expensive creature to require more money for food than the money that it earns you. Next up, there's a real sameness to the levels. You start most with the same deck, either some frogs or some fish, kinda boring. To make it more interesting, every 3 levels the deck changes, along with your starting creatures. However, with that, it becomes unclear what cards you have in each level. You gotta immediately click to look at your deck of cards at the start, and that feels kinda bad. So to remedy that, I added an animation which lays out all your starting cards at the beginning of each round. Some playtesters also had difficulty telling the difference between land and water tanks. To fix this, I added a wave effect on water levels and changed the background on land levels. Then came the bugs. Fun fact, creature speed was tied to the frame rate. If you turn off VSync, you get this. Fixing this was easy enough, just had to switch a bunch of code from the process method to the physics process method so that it happens with a fixed time step. Godot by default has VSync on, which makes it easy for this sort of issue to slip under the radar. So here's one of my playtesters playing the game, and wow, that's a lot of shells and a lot of lag. This was because of some bad code I wrote. Every single coin would individually track if it's being clicked on or not, which means you can have like 100 entities all trying to see what the mouse is up to, and that's just not efficient. I changed this to instead have a single script handling the mouse that, when you click, does a raycast at that point to see what coins it intersects with. Here's another issue that came up, which was only made clear when the game started to lag. Some cards are stuck face down in their hand. That's because I have two separate processes running, one that deals each card over the course of about a second, and one that flips them all after about a second. If the first process lags, the second process tries to flip them before they're all dealt. Fixing this meant looking at all my wait X seconds code and seeing if I should instead wait for another process to finish, to avoid any desync. I had another user come back with concerns about accessibility. Trying to click all these coins as fast as you can is a real carpal tunnel syndrome inducing moment. Similarly, cleaning the tank, flicking your mouse back and forth all over could be difficult for people with certain mobility issues who otherwise want to enjoy a card game with fish. For this I came up with a list of difficulty/accessibility options. One of these was easier cleaning, which makes the cleaning radius much larger. This one made me realize an issue with my code, which was that cleaning was way too inefficient. To clean the tank, the game draws a circle to the alpha channel of the dirty tank texture. The time this takes increases with the square of the radius, and it gets very slow very fast. To remedy this, I changed it to only alter 5% of the pixels during a given frame, making it essentially 20 times faster and adding a cool dithering effect. Anyway, I'm largely happy with where the game is at now. I'd release it this month, but apparently releasing during a big sale is a bad idea, and with the Steam Winter Sale taking up most of this month, I'm just gonna wait it out till January. It also gives me some more time to fix a few of the remaining bugs and get some localization done for all this new stuff I added. Okay, bye.